Well, good morning and hello. I've come up with an idea for another video, and basically, I'm going on what's happening current event wise with all the tensions in the Far East between Japan, China, and Taiwan, in the Sea of Japan, and in the South China Sea. China is trying to exert its strength and its basically dominance over the area, being the dominant power. So you would see a lot of Chinese aircraft such as the J35, which I built a little while ago, up and flying in defense of Chinese territory, land, and whatever else, and challenge Japan too, because eventually China may take Taiwan, and they may not. But I mean, the signs are there, meaning all the equipment's there. And so what basically happened is we put the USS George Washington and the USS Abraham Lincoln, which also carry, besides F-18s and other planes, F-35s, to go and to show U.S. freedom of navigation in the area, and also to present a challenge to China, saying if you're going to go and slap Taiwan, we'll be there to slap you back. Basically, what it is amounts to. So basically, what I wanted to do was just to show you the equipment that they're using. We all know the F-35. We see it everywhere. You see it on YouTube and Rumble and every other place that has videos. It's a very expensive, very sophisticated, actually a very good fighter plane. Why is it that? Because it has stealth, it has controllability, it has electronics that can control drones and other stuff, and it's American made. So you gotta be nice for that if you're American and you're in the American stuff. And it is a heck of a plane. I've seen a few of them over in Iowa at an air show fly, and they're kind of cool to watch. Kind of quiet. Well, I'll give you a little bit of technical detail on this. It's got a Pratt& Whitney F-135 PW100 afterburning turbofan, 28,000 pounds of thrust dry, 43,000 with afterburner, maximum speed of 1,128 miles an hour, a range of 1,500 nautical miles, service ceiling of 50,000 feet, and a basic combat range of internal fuel of 720. The 1,500 meaning if you have external tanks, but these planes can be air refueled, so they could stay in the air indefinitely as long as they are refueled. Um, what else could we go about it? I'm not going to go into the technical detail as much as far as weapons. It carries AMRAAM missiles, Sidewinders. It has GBU bombs. In fact, the bomb bay here has two in there that could be nuclear. It has a gun. It has a 25 millimeter um, GAU 22A 4-barrel rotary cannon with 180 rounds. And this is a very maneuverable fighter plane. It's small, so it can maneuver. And if you go looking at the control surfaces, this thing can do some really funky stuff. And it's smaller than the J35. The J35, which the Chinese have, which would be on their carrier Fujian, and then the Liang. Those are the two carriers that are in the area. A little bit bigger than the F-35. It has a trapezoidal type of wing, but it's a little bit different. The J-35 is powered by two Guizhou WS-18 afterburning turbofans, a maximum speed of 1,381, combat range of 780 miles on internal tanks, or 1,200 with external. The service ceiling is 52,000 feet, and the armament of this are various missiles, and like I said, probably one or two 23 millimeter cannon. If they had them, they would probably be shooting out from under the wing roots. And what I did was I put a black little brick thing. If you look close where the inner missiles are, that's where the cannon would be. They probably would have one on each side. I think they're two barrel rotary cannons, and the wing fell off. Bear with me for a second. That's what happens with this thing. It just says it has its days, and today's not one of them. It's been sitting there collecting dust as a display plane, and there we go. She's back on. It's the nice thing about these brick models. You can manipulate them. I'll give you a good look at the whole body and stuff. But if you see, the J35 is bigger proportionately. Let me get it up and show you again. See, the engine fell off. Yeah, Kobe. Kobe. I don't know. I like Kobe models, but I'm enjoying building these others that I've been building. These Sembo, and they're pretty easy to deal with. But the Kobe's are too. There we go. The F-35 is much smaller than the J-35. Okay, see. J-35, F-35. So you would have patrols, you'd probably have F-18s, but you would have these flying more because I think they want to test the electronics and the availability to control other things like drones from the electronics and the computers that are in the F-35. Now, J-35, does it have all the stuff that the F-35 does? I would probably say no. It has the same kind of capabilities. It has free fall bombs that could be out of the bomb bay. Let me show you that. I don't want to like make a big mess of this stuff, but and they have some smaller single-use nuclear free fall bombs like we do. So I'm assuming that the Chinese would have them on their J-35s that are on the Fujian and the Liang. Would they use these on us? No, but there's the capability. The thing is, when you power project, you're projecting your power and showing what you're doing. These planes have radar, and what they'll do is they'll fly back and forth and stuff, and they'll probably lock on to a target, which would be whatever the target be, be it an aircraft carrier or whatever, or another plane, because they have multiple weapons. I'm assuming these bigger missiles are anti-ship missiles because the Chinese have a lot of their own home-built missiles I don't know a lot about. I am going to get as much info as I can and do a video using the J-35 or my new up-and-coming J-15 Flying Shark to describe how the weapon systems operate on these. But going back to that, the Fujian and the Liang would be sending these planes out on patrol, and they would be in radar contact with the F-35s. I don't think they'd visually see. What happens is when they come in close, they have like an identification so that they know who is who, so that the Chinese pilot would know that the American pilot flying this F-35 is there to protect his carriers or do whatever, and then his job is to monitor the F-35 and see what he's doing in Chinese or near Chinese airspace, and does it represent a threat, or are they just doing the normal freedom of navigation that you do on the open seas. So you'd be seeing these planes from both American carriers and possibly from the Japanese small helicopter, what carrier that they call them now, the Kaga. Ironically, the carrier that headed the attack on Pearl Harbor, its namesake from World War II. Also the carrier that was involved when the Japanese were attacking China in the 1930s, and they were providing air support for the Imperial Army. So the Chinese have a long memory that goes for hundreds of years. They don't forget. They remember World War II, even it was like some 80-some years ago, and they're not happy still about that. So you get the Japanese flying some sophisticated fighter plane from a carrier called the Kaga off the coast of China. Kind of ruffles feathers of national pride. So you would have Japanese, United States, and maybe Britain. If Britain were involved in something, they're flying F-35s. Now, what does that mean for the Chinese? J-35 pilot going up against the F-35. And this is where I look at comparatives between the two. Now, if you look at the two planes' strengths and the weaknesses, the J-35 is slightly faster than the F-35. The J-35 is 153 miles an hour faster than the F-35. It's got 2,000 more of ceiling, 52,000 versus 50,000 feet. But the thing is, if I go back to traditional dogfighter kind of thing that they would go by, what you want is a fast-turning plane at slow speeds that has the size and the maneuverability to overcome its opponent. Now, I've seen this plane fly, like I said, in an air show in Iowa a year or so ago. This plane, in a dogfight with a very highly trained U.S. pilot, maybe a pilot that has some experience in one of our desert wars, probably could fly the pants off of this plane in a slow-turning dogfight against a much larger and heavier J-35. The J-35, I think, is pretty good with the two engines, and it can go out a long distance to protect the Chinese carriers. And that's what this is like. They build these planes like, oh, well, they're going to kind of go and they're going to try to like come. No, they're not. This is a fleet defense fighter plane trying to utilize the latest technology and latest designs, trapezoidal wings, And yeah, they might have copied some stuff here and there, but like I said, with the helicopter that I built a couple weeks ago, that started off the a civilian Black Hawk, just off the civilian Sikorsky 870, which we made into the Black Hawk and they made into the Z20. So I'm not looking as a copy, but rather as an enhancement of an existing thing that they had and try to make it better for their own purposes. And the same with this plane. This plane has two engines like the F 18. It's there as a fleet defense fighter. Does it have offensive capabilities? Yes. Would they use them? I don't think so. China, for one, has not been in a major war since World War II. They have had soldiers fight in Korea, basically human wave soldiers that were chopped up. I don't think they would do that now. I think they're a little bit more sophisticated, and they would try to take us on utilizing electronics, stealth, and things of that nature. So you would see these planes looking at each other on a radar signature, and maybe a visual when they come close, but not close enough where they can engage in a dogfight. And here's where the fun thing begins, as far as me. I know that the F-35 has an internal gun, and they don't really say the J-35, but going to basic Chinese design and utilizing the Russian 23 millimeter cannon, auto air cannon, they would probably have one or two on there just as defensive purposes. Gun platform, is it good? It could be, but the F 35 I think is better. And the thing that comes down there is pilot experience, pilot hours, and I think our pilots get more hours than a pilot in the People's Liberations Naval Air Force, is what this thing is called. But I would like to see this plane in combat. I mean, I guess in the last India-Pakistan war, you saw that Rafale was shot down by a J-10, which is a Chinese Pakistani. But this plane intrigues me, the J-35, and I think this thing, because of the design, could be pretty much give you a run for your money. If you notice, the F-22 Raptor has a kind of a wing like this. And the thing is, this plane, I mean, there's a land based version of it. They may sell this to other countries, but in its present form, this is made for the Chinese Navy. And the whole purpose of this is to be able to defend their carriers against this, the F 35. Now, if war broke out involving the stuff with Taiwan, would you see yeah, you would see these planes from different places coming out, because especially the B version, because it can land like a Harrier, but it takes off on a thrust vector mode, so it takes off like a short takeoff plane, whereas the J-35 needs an aircraft carrier or a long runway. It's not going to land like the F-35. So as far as portability and usability, F-35 would kind of like go, but in terms of plane performance, I think this has a slight edge, but like I said, it's the pilots that are flying it, the tactics that they're using, and the higher level of electronics and computers and avionic gears, which I don't know if this has it. And the thing is, the stuff that they may have taken from this plane and the programs that were in place for Lockheed Martin and other companies that were building this. So what else would you see if you saw them at war? You would probably see this. This is another thing that I built. The Harbin H-20Z anti-submarine helicopter, and I'm unfolding its rotors. Give me a second. Hunting U.S. ships and submarines that might be shadowing the Chinese Navy in support of the United States Navy. Carrier groups of, in this case, Abraham Lincoln and the George Washington. And you might see this involved in the activities and festivities too. So does that mean there would be a total war against the U.S. and China as far as this? No, what I think that it would mean is just kind of like feeling each other out and looking at what each other has and trying to see how they would use it if they actually did come to it. I mean, it could, because they're in close contact. They're doing flybys close to each other and stuff, but within a reasonable distance that's appropriate. But if the war were to happen, I think the first planes you'd see striking at each other would be this plane and the J 35. It'd be the F 35, J 35. You get some F 18 Hornets involved. but most of the action would be with these two planes because they're the ones pushing the technology and the ability to fly at a reasonable speed, carrying enough um, payload and weaponry to defend the other. And just remember, a plane says it's stealth. You put missiles on the wings, fuel tanks, you slow it down, and you decrease its stealth capabilities. So, I mean, look at the bottom of the J35. I mean, how stealthy is it going to be with these large missiles? Maybe, maybe not. And most of the stuff that I'm saying here is all speculative. But the thing is, the equipment that I'm showing you is there right now and could be used to engage in hostile activities between the United States, China, and probably Japan, because Japan does not want China in Taiwan. What's so important about Taiwan? The semiconductor business and the computer chips and the things that computers and computer systems use. And that I can say is a true thing when I spent most of my life as a data analyst, and a lot of the hard work comes from Taiwan. And if China takes Taiwan, they're going to take the manufacturing capabilities of that to upgrade all their electronics, and we're going to have to come up with a way to produce things that would help us in terms of fighting a war and going on in the future. And that's one of the things with the F-35 program, is utilizing all that, putting it in a workable fighter plane that a bunch of countries can use. And this Kobe one that I have is actually a Royal Navy one, the round drill. I could not get a U.S. one when these things came out because of all the craziness with people wanting to buy this or wanting to buy that. And so I had to do with an RAF version of it. And I'm going to get an American one. And when I do, I will do a video, a good video that everybody can enjoy and see what we got going on with that. But basically, that's what would happen. The F-35 would be going against a J-35. And the thing is, the Chinese equipment is not bad. I think the Chinese equipment is better than the Russian equipment because there's a little bit more caretaking and a little bit more research, and China's got the money to develop stuff. Their biggest problem was workable aircraft engines. These are Chinese engines, they're not Russian. They finally started making more durable and better engines in their aircraft, which would make their aircraft, and the quality goes up as far as systems and stuff, very potent and very capable in fighting a war. So you have it. You have this and this out there ready to engage the U.S. Navy in the South China Sea and in the Sea of Japan. Thing is, hopefully, if they're there, cooler heads prevail and we don't get into a war. But if they do, you see the equipment that's going to be used. Okay, that's it for this video because my dog is barking again. I apologize. I will have another video coming out soon. I just got an Abrams tank, my first one, a Kobe, which I will show you, as I always do. And I will build it within the next couple of days, and I will do a comprehensive video on that because I do know a lot about that tank. I've seen some at museums, as I've been inside one. So we will do that. But for now, it's kind of a loose video, but I just wanted to show you what's out there. So when you go on, watch the news, and they start hyping up China and the United States and the South China Sea, that's the equipment they have out there. And basically it'll be, here's my technology, here's yours, here's my stance militarily, here's yours. What are you going to do about it? This is what I can do. Now let's back off and call it a day, or let's get it on and fight. So, whatever it's worth, I have that. And I have a couple more videos coming. I also got a J-15 Flying Shark assemble coming. I will build that and post that, and a couple other little videos. And I hope everybody's having okay in this holiday season. It's pretty informal for me as far as my videos doing this one like this, but I wanted to get this one off. I hope you like it, and we'll watch it and then get other people to watch it so I can make more of these videos and make everybody a little bit more knowledgeable without freaking out about all the stuff going down. And I'm sorry for the length of this, but there was a lot of information. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next video.